Hello, I'm Tyler Odenthal, Head of Engineering at ChatMode, and today I want to share a project that I've been working on in Bot Framework Composer. For those of you who haven't seen Bot Framework Composer, this is the home page. Top right hand corner has examples. Right here there's some video tutorials. But we're going to be diving into some of the applications that I've made, particularly the BirdBot. So BirdBot is designed as a learning application, and it's currently deployed on Microsoft Teams. It's loaded up with around 611 different birds. This bird was made using Cornell's website. I took their website and made it into an API that's publicly accessible to essentially anyone who wants it to better search their website. I've also integrated a vision AI using cognitive services via Microsoft's custom vision, and the API is also integrated into this bot. So the custom vision API is also integrated to this bot. So right here is the main BirdBot dialog, and this is the greeting intent. The greeting intent's nothing really special. Essentially, it sends a welcome message and then it goes to the menu. The menu, I believe, is a very important bot feature. It is kind of the waiting zone for actions of a user. So essentially, instead of many times a bot may send a user to a dead end where a user has to be re-engage the bot without any instruction, I don't think that's a great engagement model. So I always send my users to a menu after their functionality of the bot has been performed. So after, let's say, I send the bot a message saying, hey, look up this bird, it's going to go get that information, and it's not just going to leave me there, it's going to take me back to the menu. So that's the greeting. All of these are Lewis intents that are constructed inside of the main. They're really only constructed to do the routing of the bot. So I use my main dialogue inside of Composer more as a routing feature rather than a actionable feature. So this is where I do all my Lewis routing. And as you can see, main menu, the bird vision, they all have Lewis triggers, phrases, conditionals that say above 80% match trigger this. This is the most important of the intents that are constructed inside of the main. It's where the Lewis list is constructed to essentially filter all the birds. So whenever I say bald eagle, this is where it gets all that information and it understands what bird entities it's looking for, because this is where it gets constructed. So it has 611 different bird names in here. It's constructed inside of a list. The list is now, once when this gets deployed on a Lewis service, and these get stored as list entities. And these are the phrases that trigger it. So essentially, I set up a spin tax to generate all these phrases. So these are the main. This is the main dialogue of the BirdBot. This is bird lookup. So whenever you trigger go to bird lookup and you say one of the bird names, it's going to trigger this message, and then it's going to get that bird. So it's going to store that bird name. It says, I'm going to get that information for you. And then it's going to go over here. It's going to send an HTTP request to my API that has a ton of bird information with the bird name. And it's going to send back a adaptive card of that information. Here's the menu. The menu is pretty basic, not too complex. Essentially, it says, what can I help you with? Presents some buttons. Has a random number generator functionality. Stores that as a parameter. Does another HTTP request based on the random number that gets generated. Sends an adaptive card. And that's when you click or learn about a random bird button. And then this is the lookup bird by name. Essentially, it triggers an ask response functionality. The ask response functionality can be triggered here. You can just construct a new one. I don't need one. I already did that. So it says, what bird do you want to look up? So it says, can you look up the bald eagle? the bald eagle gets stored and it'll do the get bird lookup functionality. And then the bird vision API unfortunately doesn't work on Microsoft Teams at the moment because the SharePoint integration with cognitive services doesn't really work very well. It doesn't like SharePoint URLs being used inside of cognitive services. So I've constructed a Power App to actually work around my cognitive service integration at the moment. There's many ways I can get around it, but that's just the way I want to do it at the moment. The Vision AI application is actually built, and I've actually showed it on working on a website. It just currently doesn't work on the Microsoft Teams ecosystem because every single photo that you upload becomes a SharePoint URL instead of like a open source URL that the cognitive services can access. So unless my cognitive service has access to your SharePoint site, it's not going to work. So essentially I just currently disconnected this at the moment and then made a Power App, which is totally fine. But this is how it would totally work. It's trained on 31 different bird species. It stores the dialogue attachment when you send it a photo. It then sends that photo to my classification based on URL iteration 9 of my trained custom vision API. And it sends this body with my dialogue attachment that I just sent it, which is a photo. And then it generates the bird name that it thinks that's in that photo, the score, which is just essentially its confidence interval, and the bird name for post. I think that's the same as the name result, but I store it and send it to my information API and then gather all the information about that bird that it thinks it's in the photo and then send it in adaptive cart back. So now that I've kind of explained the bot, I'm going to show you how that works inside of the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So we're going to switch over to Teams real quick. Boom. Now we're on Teams. Open that up on my site. Cool. So this is the application section of Teams. And here's my BirdBot. There's a couple other bots that we've made. There's the Articles bot, School District bot, and here's BirdBot. So we're just going to add that. It's going to pop up over here. And I'm just going to pin it up here. So as you can see, what we constructed in Composer is now deployed on the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. I obviously have to do the publish thing and stuff, but just assume that I went through the process in Composer and published my application and it got generated in Azure services. It's all very easy to do, and I did it. And now I connected it to an application using the App Manifest App Studio. And generated a app manifest so I could deploy it onto the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So this is what my bot that I just made in Composer looks like on the Microsoft Teams ecosystem. So essentially, here's my greetings message. It's pretty basic. I'm BirdBot, here to educate you. Learn about random bird, look up a bird by name, try Bird Vision AI. Bird Vision AI, I'll just do it right now. It'll tell you that it doesn't work. SharePoint photos don't transfer, great, cool. But as you can see up here, I'll show you in a bit, there's a Power App, and I'll click that in a bit after I show you the other sections that I built in Composer. So learn about a random bird. That's going to generate a random number, and it's going to ping my information API that I made from Cornell's allaboutbirds.org, and it's going to generate this adaptive card to essentially teach you about a random bird. So this is the summer tanager. It's a cardinal, lives in open woodlands, likes insects, nests in trees. It's a foliage gleaner, so essentially it gleans foliage. Way to go. It's the only complete red bird in North America. That's dope. And essentially, you know, all this information was generated via the API. And then you can click these buttons. I'm not going to, but it's going to open up URLs which have more information about the bird. Let's just click this Learn a Random Bird button a couple more times. Cool, white-crowned sparrow. If you live in the Pacific Northwest, you'll see actually quite a bit of these. They live around here. See them all the time. They're a sparrow and they eat scrubs. So if you're interested in learning about birds, this may be a good way to learn about random birds. But if you also know like a bird by name, let's just assume you do, you're an ornithologist in training or something, and you're like, I want to know about the bald eagle, right? I want to know about the bald eagle. And bald eagle information coming up. Cool. Boom. Bald eagle. That's great. Let's try it one more time. And like I said, you don't actually have to click this. It's always looking for that phrase because the lookup intention was constructed in the main, and we have interruptions built into our questions. So essentially, we can always bounce out of our menu at any time using conversation, and I can show you that right now. So, can you look up the American goldfinch? Right? So American goldfinch, I know, is also a bird. Cool. We'll get information on the American goldfinch, and boom, there it is. And you'll notice that... Oh, actually, no. This is still the same adaptive card. We can't trigger the vision adaptive card at the moment. That's unfortunate. So you only get to see this pretty adaptive card at the moment, which is great. So these are the main functionalities of the BirdBot at the moment. You can learn about a random bird. You can look up birds by name. And then you can also try the bird vision AI. But you can't currently try that in the bot itself at the moment. I'll be working towards debugging, sharing SharePoint URLs, or just figuring out how to access the image directly in Teams. I'm working on it. But currently the workaround is I built a Power Apps application to where you can upload a bird photo and it can analyze that photo for you. So you can see that I was clicking here. I can change photos. Currently, this is in my red-winged blackbird photos. So this is how I trained all of my models. I have a ton of bird photos. So essentially, if you have a picture of a bird that you like, boom, analyze it, click it, red-winged blackbird. All right, cool. We now know that that's a red-winged blackbird, and we're pretty dang confident that it is. Let's just go to a northern flicker, do that, analyze that. It thinks it's a northern flicker pretty 100% there. Let's try it again. I mean, that one's flying. Looks totally different, to be honest. Poofy bird, poofy northern flicker. Still thinks it's pretty dope. Cool. So that's going on. Let's try hummingbirds now. Rufous hummingbird. That sometimes gets confused with the Anna's hummingbird, so that's pretty impressive. Let's try it one more time. Cool, Rufus. Rufus. Wow. Very accurate today. Pine Sinska. Tiny guy. So we wavered a little bit. It's not as confident in that one, but still pretty dang confident. Oh, yep, because that one kind of looks like a house finch a little bit. So I wonder if we actually have house finch here. We have house sparrow. We'll try it. But you get the idea. You can come in here, start analyzing your birds. There's a button behind my face. You'll just have to trust me. That will switch the window to essentially the images that you uploaded. I'm working on being able to store these locally for each person inside the Power App, but I'm not sure if that's even a feature. I'm not really a Power Apps expert. I'm more of a bot guy. But that was my kind of intro into what I've currently built in Composer, how it was deployed using Custom Vision API, essentially Lewis entities, and yeah, it's a great learning application. This can be applied to essentially any type of other application that you can think of. So plants, trees, animals of other varieties, right? Fish. It's just a really good way to learn about things. So I think I'm going to start to expand this application to be much greater than what it's doing right now. But this is a very good start, and I thought I'd share. So thank you very much, and see you next time.